Peace be upon you. Today I want to discuss a topic about 1343. Now, this particular one is used by Sunnis to argue that it's acceptable to say Muhammad is the messenger of God. So it reads as follows. This is per Rashad's translation. Seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. Those who disbelieve will say, you are not a messenger. Say, God suffices as a witness between me and you, and also those who possess knowledge of the scripture. So the argument here in the Arabic is that and those who possess knowledge, wa min Ahlul Kitab, relates to the witnessing. So God is saying, Billahi shahidun, God suffices as a witness. And they're saying God and the people of knowledge of the scripture suffices as a witness between me and you. This is their justification for saying you are a messenger. There's several points to deal with this. So the first is we'll look at the Arabic. This is called the genitive case. So the genitive case in the Arabic is when you combine something like a preposition. If you see the Arabic here, it's saying billah or by God. So this is majroor, which is the genitive case. Now what happens with the genitive case is that the verb, the accusation, is linked only to the genitive case. It doesn't extend. Now we see an example of this in 5.6. In 5.6, the Arabic reads, Wamsihu bi ru'usikum, and wipe the head. Masih is to wipe. Ru'usikum, the head. And then immediately after it says, Wa arjulakum, and the feet. Ilal ka'bayn, up to the ankles. So even though the feet is not clarified that you wash it, it doesn't take the genitive clause of wiping. Instead, it's washing the feet. God willing, it's somewhere in this article where I talk about 5.6 as well. So here in the Arabic, so it's saying kul kafa, the disbelievers, and God will say billah, by God, shahidan, right? Shahidan is a single response. So the shahidan, the witnessing, is done by God only. So whenever you see billah or any number of preposition that makes it genitive, then the verb can only extend to that noun. So this only applies to God. So the witnessing here is exclusively done by God. And God is saying He is witness, and His witness is sufficient between these groups of people. A, you and me. B, the people of the scripture. Right? So here the following phrase, وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ الْكِتَابِ, and those who possess knowledge of the scripture. So it's not this part here is in the nominative, وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ, and over them, over the people of the scripture. So that's one argument to say that the shahad, or the witnessing, is done only by God. And then when you look at the nominative case of the shared witnessing, we look at the Arabic. If this were to clearly include the people of the knowledge, the Arabic would read differently. It would read, Kul kafa billahi wa man indahu ilmul kitabi shahida. So you see here where it says shuhada. So shuhada is the plural to include these two parties. So say God and the people of the knowledge are witnesses, right, over me and you. So you can see that the billah shahida is the correct Arabic in the verse, But to make this meet their requirement, it would be in red, shuhada. And instead of this verse, this part here moves to here. And then this has to be conjugated differently. And then it's clear. If this was the Arabic, it would say God and the people of knowledge of the scripture is sufficient as a witness, or are witnesses. This would be co-witnessing, which naturally isn't the case. And you can see the shuhada here is added to explicitly make those who possess knowledge become the active subject. So they're performing the witnessing alongside God. So this is making it plural and active in the nominative role of those who possess knowledge, tying it to the verb witnessing. So now we've got the accusative case clarifying the role of the knowledgeable people. So now this is mansub. This is often used for objects of action. So when you think about the English grammar, it's subject, verb, object. Cat eats food. Cat is the subject, eat is the verb, food is the subject. Object, the thing being acted upon. So it's similar in the Arabic when you have the accusative case. That's the action itself. If the people of knowledge were directly being acted upon or addressed as participants in the witness, this case might apply. However, their role in this verse is not tied to any direct action, meaning that there is no stronger action. If the Arabic here, instead of billah, it's, this is the wrong Arabic. If it was billahi shahidan, instead of that it's wallahu shahadu, then that would be a strong argument that this is in the nominative case. But billahi shahidan, the moment the preposition appears, it becomes the genitive case. The shahad belongs only to the addressor at this point. So, however, the verse in this verse is not tied to any direct action. They are mentioned separately as holders of knowledge, not as participants in the witnessing itself, obviously. This grammatical analysis shows that the genitive case used for billah, as we spoke about earlier, emphasizes exclusivity in the act of witnessing, meaning that the witnessing is done by a single source, being God. In the absence of the nominative or the accusative case for the people of knowledge reinforces their distinct passive role. So here you've got the so waman here, even though this is a nominative case, indahu ilmul kitabi, right? This makes the whole combination of between me and you and the people of knowledge as a genitive clause. This is a weaker clause. So the shahada cannot translate to the weaker, to the nominative clause, because the shahada only belongs with the genitive clause. I'm sure that's very confusing, but God willing, we can expand on that. So the other part is the context. The verse explicitly states, Kul kafa billahi shahidan. God suffices as a witness. The verb shahidan here is a singular, as previously presented. If the plural were to be applied, it would be shuhada. So the witnesses here is God only. So God is clarifying his sufficiency as the ultimate witness. To suggest that the people of knowledge are also witnessing would imply that God's testimony alone is insufficient, which undermines his authority and the central Quranic principle of his self-sufficiency. So if you read other verses in the Quran, you can see the same thing. But God bears witness to what he revealed to you. He sent it down with his knowledge. God suffices as a witness between us and you. So the same verses kind of being discussed, where God is the witness. You don't have to witness this. God witnesses all events. And the point of witness, obviously, is that it's something you see. You can't say I witnessed a car crash if you weren't even in the same country. You can't say you witnessed Muhammad as a messenger of God when not only were you not in the same country, you were not in the same time frame, right? Now this is another interesting verse in 7172. We touched on it. Recall that your Lord summoned all the descendants of Adam and had them bear witness from themselves. Am I not your Lord? They all said, yes, we bear witness. So this is why we can say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Because God and us, we have witnessed each other. We witness God, and then we bore witness. All of us bore witness. God is saying here, Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord? And then qalu, this is everyone, bala shahidna, everyone said, bore witness. So this confirms that it's an active voice in the present tense, indicating that the interaction occurs in real time. And the important bit here, the same word, this alastu, is used earlier in 1343, which is a conversation that happens. Right here, those who disbelieve will say, right? So lisan is saying, you are not a messenger. So this is verbatim speech during the messenger's time. So I can't be doing this anymore. It's impossible for me to go to Muhammad and say, you are not a messenger of God. Impossible. So this verse simply is disavowed, unapplicable, because the lisan is here, which is say, you are not a messenger. I'm not saying you are not a messenger. I'm simply excluding it from my shahada, because I can't say that to him now. So the context has been covered, and then now we've compared to exclusivity of witnessing in 7172, and then we'll focus more on the engagement. We touched on it just now. So the verb lastu, am I not, placing this question, is an active ongoing conversation. It's not recounting a past event. This is something that happened. Like I said here, it's the active voice in present tense. So for us to say witnessing directly tied to God, and the verb describes an ongoing discussion with those present during Muhammad's time, the skeptics directly confront Muhammad, right? Saying you are not a messenger of God. God's response through Muhammad is, say God suffices as a witness between me and you, and also those who possess knowledge of the scripture. So Muhammad is responding to them, God is sufficient, to the disbeliever that's saying this to him. God is sufficient as a witness between me and you. He is also sufficient as a witness amongst those who possess knowledge of the scripture. Right? Even if I grant that those who possess knowledge of the scripture and God is sufficient as a witness between me and you, this particular argument is talking about how this is a localized event. It's an active engagement. The last two is present continuous action. So this implies that the 172 is restricting the action to an immediate audience of Muhammad's time. This does not apply to us. The skeptics who are denying Muhammad's prophethood are being addressed directly by God. Those who possess knowledge of the scripture refers to specifically knowledgeable individuals alive during that time, if at all. I don't agree this is the case even in the grammar, but even if I grant you that, the people of the knowledge alive during that time would be the ones Muhammad are referring to. And then if you were knowledgeable of the scripture, then you would read the entirety of the scripture and you would find that God is repeatedly saying his witness is sufficient, right? There is no shahada of Muhammad Rasulullah. In fact, the only time that appears is in 63:1, which is the shahada of the hypocrites. The hypocrites come to you and say, we bear witness that you are the messenger of God. Why is that? Right? The true shahada in the Quran is in 3:18, 47:19. La ilaha illallah. So we've talked about this. This is the temporal limitation as per the discussion. We won't go deep into that. And then you've got hypocrisy and witnessing insights from 63:1, which is what I said earlier. Seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. when the hypocrites come to you, they say, this is you if you say this, we bear witness that you are God's messenger. God knows that you are his messenger, and God bears witness that the hypocrites are liars. Again, only God bearing witness that the hypocrites are liars, because only God knows truthfully whether they are or they are not. Again, clarifying that the Shahada, the only thing you can witness, is that there is no God but God. So it continues in the comparative translation. This is to show what others have said in this translation. Some of them get it right, some of them don't. Sahih International say, sufficient is God as witness between me and you, and those angels with knowledge of the scripture. So Sahih International decided to add angels. Yusuf Ali say, enough for a witness between me and you is God, and such as have knowledge of the book. So Yusuf Ali is making this Sunni argument to say that the witnessing is done by God and people who have knowledge of the book. Now there's a problem there. One, how do you quantify someone who have knowledge of the book? You don't know. Because if you read the book, i.e. the Quran, it's repeatedly saying La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. Never Muhammadur Rasulullah. That only happens here in the entire Quran, by the way. So if you had knowledge of the book, you wouldn't be saying Muhammadur Rasulullah. And then Piqtal say, God sufficeth for a witness between me and you and those who have knowledge of the scripture. So most of these are translating, very close to how Rashad is. Clear Quran say, God is sufficient as a witness between me and you, as well as those who have knowledge of the scripture. So they all kind of translate in a slightly different tone, but it's clear that it's God. Suggests a distinction between God's action of witnessing and the mentioning of people of the knowledge. None definitively attribute the witnessing to the latter group, further supporting the argument that witnessing is exclusive to God. So even their scholars disagree, right? Bar Yusuf Ali. So you have to pick and choose, cherry pick which one you like. Practical implications. So the grammar we touched on, the genitive case billah meant that the shahada only belongs to God. And the people of knowledge here is technically in the genitive case as well, because they are not the subject. But even if they were in the nominative case, they can't take the accusative case of shahada with God, because it's using billah instead of wallah. So God's sufficiency is central. So obviously, when God is saying he suffices as a witness, if you then say, I need the people of the book of knowledge or whatever, scholars A, B, C, then you're testifying against God. You're saying God is insufficient as a witness, however you slice it. Because if God is sufficient as a witness, it's game over. No further witnesses are necessary. This was the same point. And finally, just to conclude, Quran 13:43 reinforces the Quranic principles that God alone is sufficient as a witness. Attempts to extend the act of witnessing to include the people of knowledge misunderstand the grammatical structure and contextual emphasis of the verse. By carefully analyzing the Arabic grammar context and related verses, we see that the witnessing is performed exclusively by God, and the role of the people of knowledge is peripheral, not participatory. This interpretation aligns with the Quran's overarching message of God's singular and absolute sovereignty. That is the end.